You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live Portraits, featuring intimate, in-depth interviews with Black Hollywood stars and influencers. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live Portraits, Derrial Christon.
Hey everyone, you're watching Black Hollywood Live Portraits. I am your host, Derrial Christon, and here joining me today is the beautiful Courtney Stewart.
What's up, everybody?
Equally beautiful and handsome, DJ Jesse J.
Hey.
And our very special guest today, I was just telling her, many men had her poster on their wall, I'm sure, growing up. She is not only an actress, she's a writer, she's a director. Troy Byer is with us today.
Welcome.
It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your new project.
Thank you.
I really hate my ex
Do
is the
you?
title. That's the title. Yes. Not. Yeah, that's true. Let me think of what ex.
Oh, I hate all three of mine.
Interesting.
And it premieres April 14th
Yes, that's right.
through Lionsgate.
Lionsgate. It'll be available at Walmart, Target, and right now we're on iTunes.
All right. Well, we're excited to. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but we're excited that you're working on that project, and we love seeing your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you have been in this business for a while,
Long time, since 1968.
1968, and you started out on Sesame Street.
Sesame Street, yes. I was 4 years old.
And how did you sort of find your way into the business?
Well, my mom, we were on welfare. My mother it was me and my brother and my mother, and Alvin Ailey was our next door neighbor.
Whoa.
Remember
wow.
Alvin Ailey?
That's a
Yeah.
nice neighbor to have.
Yeah, well, he hadn't become like the amazing Alvin Ailey yet, and he was like on the grind, and he said to my mom, he's like, listen, I just auditioned for this new show called Sesame Street. It's for one of the dancers, and they're looking for cute kids. He's like, you should take your kids in, and maybe you'll get a job. My mom's like, okay. So we go to Sesame Street, and my brother and I get hired instantly on the show.
What was
Oh
that
my-
like for you as a kid walking onto the set, Sesame
Mhm.
Street, not knowing what it's
What
going
you're
to
gonna
be?
Yeah, I've never heard of it before.
What did it
I
look
mean,
like? Like, can you go back to that?
Oh, I can vividly create.
She's like,
what
listen,
was like,
we wanna
what?
know.
Bird and all
Okay,
that
so here's the thing. I had to prove, the audition was you had to prove that you weren't afraid of Big Bird, because they wanted to make sure kids could get along with this big, huge 6-7 foot bird. I mean,
Wow.
6 feet 7 bird, 6 foot 7 feet. You got it. Okay. Okay.
I was like, wait, let me visualize that.
Okay, so I walk onto the set, and the guy who's playing Big Bird, his name is Carol. He's not aware that there's a kid waiting to audition. So he comes out of his dressing room, I guess he was on his break, and he's wearing the Big Bird body around his body. And his neck, his human neck is sticking out of Big Bird's body, right?
Oh my God.
So I see this man, and I'm like, why does Bird have a man's head, right? I'm freaking out. I can't compute. I'm only 4 years old. And then I see that he's got Big Bird's head, and he's holding it in his arm like a football.
Wow.
And he's just walking out like this. And I'm like, why does Bird, what Bird does?
Traumatizing.
I ran into Mr. Hooper's store, and I had a meltdown. I just started screaming. I wanted someone to explain to me why Bird had a man's head. I've never seen a bird with a man's head.
Yeah.
Oh my, wait, so that was the
Wow,
audition and
That
you
was the
freaked
audition.
out.
I freaked out. And then my mother, she's like, girl, you better get back out on set.
You better perform.
Girl, not today, girl. So I'm like, who am I more afraid of, my mom or Big Bird, right?
Right.
So I get back out on the set, I do what I gotta do, turn it on, real cute. My mom's going, and I got the job. It's just, that's it. I've been in the business ever since.
Now, at 4 years old, those are usually like our first memories. Is Sesame Street based like one of your first memories at all?
Sesame Street is one of my very first memories.
Wow.
Absolutely,
Wow.
without a doubt. I have one more memory prior to that in which my mother and her sisters bought me these really cute little ankle socks. My mother thought I was going to be a boy. So that's before they had ultrasounds.
Oh, the
So they named me
ultrasounds, yeah.
Troy. And everything was blue. All of my stuff was blue when I was born. So I remember my mother and her sisters sewing lace around my blue ankle socks.
Wow.
So I don't know what that means, so
Wow.
But that's my other memory I
Your
have.
first memory of Sesame Street. That's awesome.
That is really kind of epic.
Yeah.
But being on Sesame Street, is there anything that you take away from being on set from there? Like a really happy moment for you, or a lesson that you learned from Sesame Street?
Oh, absolutely. Well, here's the thing. The same guy that plays Oscar plays Big Bird.
Oh, really?
So I learned very early that people
did not know
have
that.
two sides.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the same guy that played Oscar played Big Bird. Can you imagine as a kid?
Oh my God.
I wouldn't know, like, is Carol going to be a grouch or is he going to be Happy Big Bird?
Yeah.
today.
Right? So I think that's also why I had such interest in psychology, because understanding the duality of a human being and that they can switch like that so quickly. So that was a little disconcerting, for
Wow.
sure. And then the other
Look at you
thing.
analyzing.
She broke it down.
Sesame Street at 4 years old.
Can we go there? I got more. So yeah, there's a lot. I always say everything I learned on Sesame Street in terms of preparing myself for life. You know, I had one more story to tell about Sesame Street. Bob was on the set with me, and he says, "Troy, we're going to teach all the kids how to tie their shoes." And the camera's rolling, and I'm like, I already know how to tie my shoes. The director's like, cut. Troy, you have to pretend you're stupid. And be cute on camera, okay? So that's what I took. Like, if you want to be famous, you have to
Be cute.
forget
Turn it
what you
on.
know. You got to be cute. Turn it on. So that was another message to take into my life. So Sesame Street screwed me up, okay? My life was ruined. No, it's all good.
With so many kids now who were former child actors and then they turn out a different way. We see Lindsay Lohan, for example,
See,
and all
that's
these
the
other.
Mickey Mouse Club does that.
Well, they were still.
That was
yeah,
Disney.
that's a different. That's a different.
That was
Disney
Disney.
machine.
That's
yeah.
different. That's a whole other different monster. But a lot of kids don't come out in a positive light after being child actors. How did you formulate your own thing to be able to be as successful as you are and not have any real issues as you became older?
Really different. We've had some challenges along the way, but he stepped up and he took custody of me when no one else was really willing to do that. It got me out of the foster care system. My brother, who has a different father than I have, he stayed in the system, and as a result, he became a third-time offender, and he's pretty much doing life now. He's been
Wow.
in jail.
Wow.
So he didn't get it. He didn't get the break that I got.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Dad.
So-
And my mom and I have since made up. So.
Oh, that's great.
What was that? Was there a little bit of cabin fever for you in Idaho?
Well,
Because that's like
what
high
do you-
school
there's
age.
only one thing you can do in Idaho, honey.
And
In
what
the
is that?
farms.
I was like, what is that?
Tipping cows? Like, what do you
Right, that's what my mind
may
is.
be
Tipping
tipping,
cows.
Can
but
I
it
tell
ain't
you
no
honestly,
cows.
yeah, it was the best experience of my life. I loved being in Idaho.
You
I
got
mean, I
to be
had
a
some
kid.
challenging times with my father, but I got to be a kid. I met friends that are still like lifetime friends, lifetime friendships. I had a great time, but we spent a lot of time at the lake, near the farms / barns, and lots of kegs and partying and hanging
Okay.
out and touching.
Filling things out a little bit.
Necking and
Things
call it.
exactly.
Little necking and petting.
Expanding, age appropriately.
Exactly. And then from there, you found your way back to New York to continue your acting
Yes,
career.
that's right.
And how challenging was that to kind of get back into the business and after kind of living in Idaho and having your fun time there as well?
You know, it's funny. When I came back, I was 17 years old, and I called my agent who used to represent me as a child, and she said, "Oh, child actors never make it as adults. You need to just give it up. You should just probably quit now." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." And I just loved her for saying that, because it's like, "Oh, I can't wait to show her.
Yeah.
I just can't wait." And so I just got really creative, and I was like, "What do I want?" And I went after it.
And then from there, you moved to LA. And
Yes, I
you
did.
made a big move. So what was your decision in going from New York to LA? Because they're two totally different places as far as an acting career goes. So.
Yeah, well, I really felt like I'd done New York as a child, and a lot of people remembered me as a child in New York, and I wanted a clean start. So I was dating this guy at the time. It was kind of cool. He was a guy that I was kind of like had a crush on when I was in like elementary school. And he's like, "Well, I've got $100. Let's take a bus to LA." I'm like,
Wow.
"Okay." So at 17, I get on a bus and we go cross country to LA, and we arrive here, and his sister's here, and we start having these very interesting experiences around drugs, which I've always been drug free because my mom had such an issue with drugs and my brothers and stuff. And so he started selling coke. And yeah, the guy that I arrived here with, he started
Wow.
selling coke, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be a problem." I mean, I've seen where this takes you. So I left. I just disappeared. I moved into a homeless shelter for women.
Okay.
downtown, which I loved. It was called the Evangeline, and one day I hope to rebuild it. They tore it down, but I loved it. I lived there for about 1.5 years, and I just took the bus everywhere, and I auditioned, and eventually I got Dynasty.
And eventually you got Dynasty.
that is a huge
Yeah.
thing right there. I mean,
Humongous.
that was the
Yeah.
biggest show, on television at the time. It
Yes.
was before a reality show and soap operas all in one.
Wait, before we
Right.
say about Dynasty, though, in that moment for you, what kind of really kept you pushing? I mean, in the sense of like, it's almost like here's Sesame Street on no pun intended, on crack moving to LA, but that shock of like, I'm here by myself with someone I thought I knew, and now I'm here by myself again in this shelter. Was there any moments of wanting to run back to what you were comfortable to, what you knew? What was it that was saying, I need to keep pushing forward and, to get that role in Dynasty?
The great thing is that I've never been comfortable, so I don't know what comfortable feels like, right? And here's how grateful I am for my experiences is it's because I lived in all those foster cares, and it's because I lived in detention homes that I wasn't afraid to check into the Salvation Army Women Facility. It's because that's how I grew up, that when there was another roadblock, I didn't see it as a roadblock. I was like, here's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And it's all perspective. And I always saw everything as a stepping stone, because no matter where I went, I had these amazing people around me. Like when I was in foster care, I had a great social worker. When I went to the Evangeline, my next door neighbor, Sylvia Henry, she's a trip, she's still my friend. She made sure no one came near me. She's like, wait, in the lunchroom. This one right here, she was like I can't do Sylvia like Sylvia, but you get my point. And no one was messing with Sylvia. She was almost like, if I were in prison, I would have been her. You know what I'm saying? Although, we don't roll like that. But she really looked after me, and she had my back. So I've never been afraid to just keep moving forward. There's never been a reason to stop. Every stone is a step.
Just all a step.
So what were you actually doing? Like, as far as, so you're in this home, are you out every day just knocking on casting director doors? Like, how did that process even get figured out for you?
Right. Well, they had this magazine. They still have it. It's called Backstage.
Okay.
Yep.
So I got my headshots, and I just did what I know to do. I sent it every day. I was doing mailings. I'd send 10 out. And then this wonderful woman, Cynthia Land from Wilhelmina Models, called me, and she said, we want to sign you. We got your pictures. We think you're terrific. So I got on a bus. It takes me like 4 buses to get anywhere, right? Because I was working at a pizza shop at night and as a receptionist during the day, so I had to go during my lunch hour. So I got there, and I told her, I said, I can't stay long. And she's like, cool, can you go and audition tomorrow? So I just started going out on auditions.
Okay.
And
then I found a manager through all that.
And when you got that role on Dynasty, how did your life change? I mean, I would imagine, you telling us the story of the buses and the different jobs that many actors have to go through, but what in that moment do you feel like when you get that call that says, I got the role? I got this major role too at this time.
Yeah, well, I described it to someone before. It's like dating a really hot, delicious, yummy guy, and
Wow,
you
that
don't
was
realize you
nice
get all that.
adjective.
Yeah.
That's
Delicious and yummy.
Yeah, I was
And
like,
you
wow.
don't realize that he's all that until he dumps you,
That's a great analogy.
right? I'm like, what? Wait a minute, wait.
Right.
I was just joking.
I wanted you.
Yeah, I was just playing. Come on back here, baby.
Bring it back.
So when I was on it, I was like, great, I created this fun, I had a great time, but I didn't give it everything I didn't give that relationship
Yeah.
100%, I gave it 30%, and I gave the celebrity status a solid 70%. So, it's like my priorities were off. And so in retrospect, when I see what a great, amazing show was, I was like, oh, wow, I was on that show.
Yeah.
Like, I dated him.
You're right. You're
Yeah,
right. You
right.
dated him. Yes, you did.
Dated him.
And then that was such a landmark, especially to see, your character and then Diane Carroll's character. A lot of African Americans didn't see that on television at the time.
Right.
Such prominent, wealthy African Americans. And what was it like working with Diane Carroll on the set?
Oh, wow, what a queen. What a queen. She's just so regal and gorgeous.
She seems
and
like.
fabulous. And what a privilege it was to just like, wow, to say I was Diane Carroll's daughter. Woo!
Yes.
I let that translate into real life. Trust me. I was like, I'd wake up going, Mother. You know, meanwhile, I grew up in the projects, and my mother is no Diane Carroll. She's got her own little thing going on, but she's not that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a fantasy to have a mother like that. Like, I don't know, most girls, maybe it was just me, I used to dream that my father was a king, and that one day he'd come and rescue me. And then when I get off the plane, he's like, hey, daughter.
Not what I dreamed.
That's what happens when you grow up on Sesame Street. You dream a lot.
Exactly. So when I saw that, you know, Diane Carroll is going to be my mother, I kind of got jealous when I met her real daughter. You know, Diane's real daughter. I was like, she's nice.
She's nice. Yeah,
She's
I was
lovely.
like,
But I was like, and even to this day, when I see Diane Carroll playing someone else's daughter on TV, I get a little like,
it's a little, you're like, I did this.
Yeah,
I did that.
I know
I'm the real
Diane.
daughter.
Right.
yeah, I'm like, I was first.
Yeah.
And then as a performer on that show, because there was so much talent there, what did you learn about yourself, A, and what did you learn about acting, too? Were you able to really see the pros and absorb a lot of things from them as well?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, watching Joan Collins and Linda Evans and John Forsythe, I was like, yeah, I just wish, like I said, you know, hindsight is 20/20. I wish I would have known to do better, because I would have done better. Like, it was such an opportunity to get my chops on, really sharpen my acting chops, and I was just too busy running around, you know, doing something else. So I think it was a missed opportunity in retrospect, absolutely. And I'm thankful for the failure, because I've derived a lot of, you know, knowledge and information out of that experience that I've taken into my next experience, so I have no regrets.
Yeah.
So
It's all
again,
learning
stepping
experience.
stone,
Stepping stone.
not a stumbling
Find
stone.
the positive.
Yeah.
And from there, though, you were really popular. You continued to
Cosby
act throughout
Show.
the 80s and 90s. You had Murder One, The Cosby Show, Diagnosis Murder, a lot of murders.
Yeah. Oh my.
And as a woman of color, how did you keep yourself out of that negative image of certain things that the roles that women had early on, and then you had this positive kind of light of the sophisticated young daughter of Diane Carroll, and then you're moving on to these great roles. How did that kind of affect you, and how did you deal with that situation?
You know, it was really an interesting juxtaposition for me, because I didn't come from that regal sort of background. I came more from that ghetto, you know, take off your earrings and wear your shorts under your skirt today.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I was raised. So I don't know how I got that polishing, but I got it, and I would have loved to play those gritty roles too. I just didn't get them. So I don't know how it worked out that way, that I got all these very classy, sort of sophisticated, elegant, because people would meet me, they'd like, oh, you must have, you know, you've been raised with a silver spoon in your, here's how naive I was. I was like, what?
What is that?
Huh?
Like what? Who?
We all got silver spoons, you know.
Right. We all had. Oh, sorry, Courtney.
Oh no, it was good.
No, that's true. We all
Well,
have silver spoons.
Yeah.
I was like, Courtney's like, yes, I had a silver spoon.
Yeah, but it was Oneida. Like, it was,
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about.
Mine was
It's
a
like,
10 cent from
it
Walmart.
wasn't Tiffany.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly. It's like, yeah,
You have to question if it actually was silver or tin.
That's true.
yeah, or played it, yeah.
Or
I've
played
had tin.
It's all, they were all plated.
10,
Yeah.
oh, 10, that's really,
That's right.
Yeah, you know.
yeah.
Mom, are we camping? No. I won't ask questions.
This is life, son.
What were some of your favorite shows that you guest starred on? Like, we mentioned the Cosby Show, but what were some of the others?
Let's see, I enjoyed doing 21 Jump Street, that was fun, because I got to be with my friend Holly Robinson.
Love Holly.
I loved to work, it was great to work with her. Murder One was fun, working with Bochco is amazing, he's fantastic. And Paris Barkley, I think he directed one of those episodes, so that was fun. What else? I think that's about it. I'm not really big into acting, you know? It
Yeah.
wasn't a big thing for me, I have to be honest with you. I loved it only because it's all I knew. I've been doing it since I was a 4-year-old girl,
Yeah.
you know? It's not like I grew up and said, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be an actress,
Yeah.
you know? What I did say is when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. That's what I always wanted to be, was a doctor, you know? So that is the thing that I've always aspired for.
Well, it's also funny too, because when you read about a lot of actors, a lot of them kind of fell into it, and they always had other ambitions of doing certain things. It's always funny when you hear people saying they were in med school, or they were studying to be a lawyer, or they were just their brother went to an audition and they ended up getting picked
Right,
versus,
right.
you know. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear those stories of how people found their voyage into this craziness of entertainment business.
Yeah, it is. It's it's an interesting journey. I love acting. I don't feel like I've ever had the part that I was really, really proud of, you know, like Halle Berry's gotten some great parts.
Yeah.
You know, and Jodie Foster's gotten some great parts. You know, I don't feel like I've ever had that opportunity, and I wonder if that opportunity will ever come, and if it does, Mr. Spielberg, I'm available.
We have her number if you need it.
But otherwise, I'm really happy with my journey, and I'm not looking to continue that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you are a psychologist.
I am. I'm a year away from becoming a doctor.
A year away. So when did that kind of, for you, kind of transform from, okay, acting, I want to be the doctor that I said I wanted to be?
You know, when I just started realizing that as an actress, I would always be waiting for someone else to validate my existence.
Wow.
And when I really got present to that, and I just thought, no more, I'm just not interested. I really am committed to being a psychologist, so what is that going to take? And I just took it on. You know, I got accepted to NYU. I was so excited, but I couldn't afford to go to NYU, so I went to City College. And I just didn't stop. You know, I just kept moving forward. And the closer I got to my PhD, and the closer I get to my PhD, I'm so rewarded in ways that I never thought possible. I feel so complete and empowered and dynamic, and I just love what I get to do. Like, every day I get to wake up and make a difference for another human being. In a profound way that's unforeseen by me or them. Like I had a client today, and he just had this ginormous breakthrough, because when he was 9 years old, he wanted to be a pilot, but he lost his eyesight in his left eye, and so he gave up on anything in life, doing anything, and so he's been like just going through his entire life upset because he didn't try. You know, and it's not the things we do that bother us in the end, it's the things we didn't do,
Yeah.
and the regrets. So we got him on board today, and I was like, how do you feel? He's like, I feel like I'm ready to fly. We found metaphorically other ways for him to fly, because he had crashed and burned.
How is going to school and kind of changing the direction of your life helped you, even with like screenwriting and just telling your storytelling in the stage?
Well, I definitely have a deeper understanding of the psychology and the design of human beings. I think it's something that I'm an expert at, and I'm very proud of it. You know, I haven't really taken to writing any new characters since I've been studying at this level of intensity, and I'm looking forward to what's going to show up when and if I do take on writing something new. But I absolutely understand the archetype of human beings and the design.
And then you've also, you've kind of given your new career to really helping people and aiding people. And with your project, you've written 2 books, and then that transformed into the current project you're working on is I Really Hate My Ex.
Right.
So
right.
how did that kind of creation get built?
So I wrote a book called X-Free, like sugar-free, right? And it's 9 Keys to Freedom After Heartbreak. And the book was having such an impact on people that were reading it. People were really getting free from their past with their exes. And I thought, well, how can I use this to really reach the masses? And my friend's like, well, you gotta write a movie. And I'm like, oh God, don't tell me I gotta do another movie. She's like, how else are you gonna reach the audience that you want to reach?
You need a BAPS too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. So I said, okay, I'll write a script. I'll give it a shot. And if we get actors attached, then we'll go ahead and make it. And that's what happened. I wrote it, and people really gravitated towards the script, and it became a film.
And tell us a little bit more what it's all about.
It's 3 girls who are heartbroken, and they kidnap their exes and hold them hostage in exchange for the answers they think they need in order to be free. Right?
I'll be right up in there with them.
Yeah. But then what they realize on their journey is that freedom is an inside job, and it has nothing to do with the men that broke their hearts. You know, as a matter of fact, they're actually the reason why their hearts were broken. They realize that there's a behavior from their past that they brought into their relationship that allows that particular pattern to keep repeating in all of their relationships.
Wow.
And then your
Lord.
character in particular was.
Preach.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think we just went to church in here.
Go home and stare at some walls tonight.
Or I might need her to break me down, like really get into my mentals and tell me all about myself. I feel
Did
like
that before we came on.
I might need to do some adjusting in my life. I feel like. Look, I'm sitting in my chair a little bit taller now. And then now with your character, though, give us a little bit more into your character in the particular
Okay,
film.
sure. So I play a character by the name of Tanya, and what happens is after the girls kidnap their exes, their plans go awry, and so they come back home, and as most of us do when we're upset, we open the wine and we surf the internet, right?
Yeah.
So they're surfing the internet and drinking wine, and they stumble on a chat room called IReallyHateMyEx.com. And that is hosted by Chris Spencer and myself. Chris and I are hosting IReallyHateMyEx.com. And the topic is, what is the craziest thing you've ever done to your ex? That's the topic of the show
Of the
that
show.
night, yeah. So they're listening, they're like, girl, we could top that. So they get on and they start sharing what they just went through, and then we see the film in backstory. And then, by the end of the film, it becomes a global conversation about heartbreak because we have people from Africa who are piping in, just all over the place. Yeah.
Now, since the title is "I Really Hate My Ex," I know that you're married now, but you've had many dates in your past. Prince
Why
being
do
one
you
of
say
them.
many?
We're
What you
like,
do?
damn, girl,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't say we are like-
Many?
So,
Or
girl,
a
we know about
couple.
your past.
Well, we know you were beautiful, so I'm sure many men were trying to date you. So one of them in
Okay.
particular was Prince. And first of all, I'm a huge Prince fan. Do you still keep in touch with Prince?
No, I don't, but I am a huge Prince fan, and I always will be.
Did he influence any of these projects that you work on when you're talking about like
Daryl wants to
exes?
know if you hate Prince. Let's just keep it real.
No, I
She
don't hate
loves
him at
Prince.
all.
How
I
can you
love
hate Prince?
Prince is amazing. Prince was the first guy I ever dated who actually confirmed my secret suspicions that I might be someone intelligent. Because I wasn't raised in that sort of academic environment, or I wasn't encouraged to be a woman who's educated, or to any of. I mean, that's just not where I come from. Like my family, we're just trying to keep food on the table. That's really where I came from. And Prince one day looked at me. He says, "You really are smart. You really are smart." I was like,
And because I just saw again on television the Sexy MF video, and you just were just
That was
lovely in that
smart.
video. That was
"Is that smart?"
no, I mean just absolutely smart in so many ways.
Smart
So
and wonderful.
Well, it's funny because I needed money for college that semester.
So it
And-
was smart.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
Prince said, well, I have this video I want you to do. And he's like, and I'll pay you. I was like, okay, cool.
there you go.
that's a nice way to make some money too.
Yeah, crawling on couches, purring.
Hey, it's working for Beyonce.
Listen, she's making millions off of it, so it's a pretty smart
Exactly.
decision.
And you're on your way to that PhD. So
There you go.
It was for
Crawling, baby.
crawling.
Crawling and purring.
When you were in that transition you're still in the transition of becoming a doctor. Was there anyone that how was your support system then? Was there people being like, you are on the biggest show, you're doing all these amazing things, and now you want to...
Written movies.
Right, like now you want to go into being a doctor? Was it confusing for some people? Were fans treating you differently? People in the office? Or
No, I disappeared.
really?
I disappeared. I wasn't interested in any of the agreement about what I was doing or not doing, right? So I just checked out, and my son's father, who's my ex-husband, and we're very close, he was very, very supportive, and that was all the support I needed. And I just wasn't interested in what anyone had to say. My son went to Mexico recently with his father, and he was with an actress who was also successful in the 80s, and she said, Troy just dropped off the face of the planet, like no one knows where she went. And I literally did. I knew what I had to do. I knew I needed to get away. I wanted to raise my son. I wanted to be there when he came home from school. I wanted to do the school carnivals. I wanted to do all that, and I wanted to get my education. So.
If you could use one word to define your career, what would it be?
Fun. It's been fun.
Yeah.
I've met the nicest people. I've had the greatest experiences and been on wonderful sets, and I've worn beautiful dresses, and I've had the best makeup artists in the world do my makeup and my hair, and it's been really fun.
What would you like to conquer next in
love
your
you.
career? I know, she's
I'm just
inspirational.
like, me too, thank you.
What would you like to conquer next in your career that you haven't done yet?
I want, I have a show that I'm doing called Troy Talks. And the premise of the show is to provide a forum, a platform for people to talk about things they've never ever discussed with anyone before.
Like, to give us an example of something.
I have a girl who was raped, and her rapist was going to kill her, and she had to think really quick on, you know, how am I going to keep this man from killing me right now? And she fabricated this whole lie about how she'd been waiting for him all her life because she had a fantasy that the man that raped her would be her husband and the father of her children.
Wow.
And she actually started yelling at him like, "You took too long, you know, I would wait." And he was like, "Whoa, what?" You know, she really did a psychological number on him and convinced him that she was in love with him and they were meant to be, and he fell in love with her. And so then when it was time for, then I guess it was a couple weeks, I don't really know exactly how long. I think maybe she said it was like a few weeks. And when she realized that he finally had fallen in love with her, she convinced him that they needed to go to the hospital and she needs to get a checkup before they start making babies. And he said, "You're right." So he took her to the hospital. He didn't go in, he parked at the curb. She went in and never came out. The cops arrested him.
Wow.
Now, she hasn't had sex in 15 years since the rape, and he's up for parole soon.
Oh my God.
And he feels thwarted. He feels that he's not upset about raping her and going to jail for that. He's upset because he thought that she really loved him. He's heartbroken.
Wow. That's a story.
That's a movie.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Wow.
This is where you're gonna get all your script
that's
out,
like
man.
10 Lifetime movies right there.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? That's,
So
my
she's
gosh.
one of, so people like that, and it's interesting, they find me because I guess because I was a relationship expert on the Steve Harvey show for a while, I really created a wonderful following of women, and women find me, men too, they find me with their stories, and they want coaching and advice, and I'm like, you know, let's talk about it on the air, because let people find themselves in your story, you know, let's teach each other, let's show and grow.
well, what I love the most about you is that you have a clear vision on where you wanted your career to go, and you're doing it, and you're helping people, and that's what it's all about. And I mean, I'm inspired from listening to you. I want to know more about, you know, Troy Talks and all the other projects that you're working on. If I'm a fan listening to you right now, where can I find you on social media?
I am at twitter.com/Troy Byer. Everything is, you know, I'm really not very savvy with this. Just put Troy Byer and you'll find me.
That is true. It'll all just come up.
Yeah.
all just comes
Yeah,
up.
it's
It'll
all
come
under
up.
my name. I don't have any codes or underscores or anything like that.
You're not Troy Byer 77.
Right.
No,
Or your
it's,
name backwards.
no, it's
82.
straight up, yeah, Troy Byer.
Okay. Well, you've been wonderful. We got to have you back.
Thank you.
And we definitely want to also promote again I Really Hate My Ex,
I really
Yes.
hate my ex.
which is releasing April 14th.
Yes.
And people can go pick it up. Again, tell us again where
It's
you can pick it up.
available at Walmart. It's available at Target, and I say just go to iTunes and
download it.
Download that baby.
And then
It's a fun movie.
I can't
It's,
wait.
I can't
I'm
wait to see
excited.
it.
It sounds
It's really
great.
And I think I'm gonna make an appointment for you to break me down and tell
Okay.
me what I need to
Wonderful.
work on, because I feel like I need some help all of a
Oh,
sudden.
it'd be
know.
my pleasure.
Relationship.
Yeah, that's right, relationships and many other things
No,
too.
well, the relationships
What-
were mostly.
Jesse.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wow,
It's a
really?
joke, Derrial.
Really? That's how we're gonna
He
end the show
wasn't.
today?
Just
He
kidding.
wasn't
Daryl's
kidding.
amazing.
I know he wasn't
80s.
kidding. Yes. All right. Courtney, where can people find you on social media?
Sorry.
You're gonna hate me.
Find me on Twitter and Instagram at Stuart Starlet.
Jesse, where can people find you on Instagram?
At DJ Jesse J.
And you can find me at Derrial Christon on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And apparently you can find me.
You can find him on Tinder too. No,
Tinder.
just kidding.
No, that is not
Just
true.
kidding. I'm
That is
joking.
not
I'm just
true.
rashing on Derrial today, guys.
Yes, it's that
He's an
Friday.
amazing man.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Troy, once again, it's been an absolute pleasure. You
Pleasure.
got to come
Thank
back,
you.
and thank you for enlightening us with your career, and we want to continue to see you
Can't wait
blossom
to
and
see
can't wait to see
more.
more of
Yes.
you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here with you guys.
Thank you for coming.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Yes.
From producers Maria Menounos, Derrial Christon, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.